COVID-19 patients can now report themselves via MySujatra app. Malaysia initiates legal action against EU following anti-palm oil campaign. Hello and good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. You're watching Updates at Noon with me. I'm Jessica Lee. Former Lord President of the then Malaysia Supreme Court, Tun Dr. Muhammad Saleh Abbas, has passed away at the Sultanah Noor Zahirah Hospital in Kuala Terengganu at 3:20 a.m. today. He was being treated at the intensive care unit of the hospital after being tested positive for COVID-19 a few days ago. He was 91 years old. On Thursday, AS Salihin Trustee Berhad President and Chief Executive Officer Abdul Aziz Peru Muhammad said Tun Muhammad Saleh, who is also chairman of the trust, tested positive for COVID-19. Tun Muhammad Saleh was one of the elders who helped draft the Rukun Negara in 1970 when he was the Solicitor General. He was then the Lord President of the then Supreme Court, which now is known as the Federal Court, from 1984 to 1988. He was also the past Jerte Assemblyman when he won the 10th general election in 1999. Now, COVID-19 patients awaiting a call from the Ministry of Health or MOH can now report themselves through the MySujatra application. Health Director General Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham Abdullah said the application was being upgraded and enhanced to better manage the outbreak as well as to meet the needs of users in the effort to break the chain of infection in the community. In a statement, Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham said the users can go to the MySujatra help desk on the homepage of the MySujatra application and follow the instructions in Section G. He said users registered as positive cases at the MOH Crisis Preparedness and Responsive Centre or CPRC would also receive notifications via SMS and via the MySujatra application. He said users would also get advice and follow-up plans for self-assessment as well as reminders to do the pandemic symptom monitoring assessment in the need to do section for 10 consecutive days. The Health DG added that if the user has symptoms, the information will continue to be channeled to the COVID-19 Assessment Centre, CAC, and the user will be contacted by a health worker for further evaluation. With that, Tan Sri Dr. Nur Hisham said the public is advised to update the MySujatra application and make full use of all its functions. The total COVID-19 cases in Malaysia today surpassed 150,000, with 3,211 new cases reported yesterday. That brings the number of active cases to 35,253 after 1,939 patients were discharged. Currently, 204 patients are being treated at intensive care units or ICUs, with 87 of them on ventilators. In the meantime, the MOH will hold further discussions with the Association of Private Hospitals in Malaysia or APHM and other private hospital licensee in the near future regarding the management of COVID-19 patients at private hospitals. Deputy Health Minister 1, Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi Ghazali, in a statement said that the ministry hoped that the private stakeholders would be able to raise all issues and take advantage of the engagement session. He said that the MOH would also examine some issues and concerns raised by the APHM in an initial discussion, which was also attended by MOH clinical specialists in various fields on the 13th of January. He added that the APHM, representing the private hospitals, has expressed the desire to work together and be ready to treat COVID-19 patients in their respective facilities. Datuk Dr. Nur Azmi said that the initial stage, the MOH agreed to the treatment of COVID-19 patients should be centred at government facilities. But at the same time, the ministry had never stopped any private hospital from offering treatment services for COVID-19 patients. However, he said as the country is currently facing a third wave of COVID-19, which was much more challenging than the previous situation, the public health system is expected to face challenges to provide services to accommodate the significant increase in cases. Under the emergency ordinance, the MOH has the power to instruct private hospitals to take in and treat COVID-19 patients. As we enter the fourth day of the Movement Control Order, or MCO, stern action will be taken against those who attempt to cross the state or district's border. Now, Senior Minister for Security, Datuk Seri Semasa said the police have been providing some leeway to those who wanted to travel to another state for 3 days, and now strict enforcement of the MCO SOP will commence.
Pihak polis akan mula bertindak tegas dan tidak akan berkompromi dengan mana-mana pihak sekalipun yang gagal mematuhi SOP yang dikeluarkan, terutamanya yang berkaitan dengan rentas negeri, kecuali sebab-sebab tertentu yang dibenarkan seperti kecemasan, melibatkan kematian dan sebagainya.
The senior minister added that compounds will be issued on the spot to the SOP flouters. He explained that actions have been taken against a total of 32 individuals who attempted to cross the district or state borders without legit reason since the re-implementation of the MCO. The re-implementation of the MCO in several states is a rational measures taken by the National Security Council, or MKN, considering the never-ending spike of COVID-19 infections in the country. Now, MKN's Deputy Director General of Security Management, Datuk Rosli Mohamed Saad, said the mechanism will be continued until the deadly pandemic is successfully contained.
Sudah tentu usaha kita ini tidak boleh kita hentikan selagi pandemik COVID-19 ini berada wujud dalam masyarakat kita. Jadi kita perlu terus melakukan tindakan sebagai jaminan kepada kesihatan awam yang baik dalam kalangan seluruh rakyat kita. Sebab kita tahu rakyat adalah aset ekonomi yang sangat penting. Satu tempoh yang sangat subjektif, dia bergantung kepada tindakan rakyat, usaha kita, kemahuan kita, dan jika rakyat boleh memberi kerjasama, kadar penularan kes ini menurun, kita akan kembali hidup dengan baik, selesa, dan PKP ini akan ditamatkan.
Now, all educational institutions under the Education Ministry in Kelantan and Sibu in Sarawak are required to follow the Educational Institution Operation Regulations in Movement Control Order, or MCO areas, as announced previously. In a statement, the ministry said this comes following Senior Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob's announcement that Kelantan and Sibu would be placed under the MCO from today. Referring to the regulations issued by the ministry previously, face-to-face learning for educational institutions under the ministry in MCO areas only involves students who will be taking major exams for the years 2020 and 2021, as well as other equivalent international exams. The exams include Sijil Pelajaran Malaysia (SPM), Sijil Vocational Malaysia (SVM), Sijil Kemahiran Malaysia (SKM), Sijil Tinggi Persekolahan Malaysia (STPM), Sijil Tinggi Agama Malaysia (STAM), and Diploma Vocational Malaysia (DVM). For areas under the Conditional Movement Control Order, or CMCO, or the Recovery Movement Control Order, RMCO, all categories of private education institutes and international schools registered under the ministry can continue operating based on their respective school calendars. Now, with less than a week for the commencement of the new school term, members of the public in Conditional MCO and Recovery MCO are preparing the goods needed for their children to go back to school. An RTM survey in Negeri Sembilan found that the situation and environment are less crowded compared to the previous years. According to the parents, the children are all feeling excited following the announcement by the Education Ministry that allowed the school operations to resume in CMCO and RMCO areas. The survey also found that parents have only been spending on new school uniforms, as most of school items from last year can still be used for this year.
sedialah sebab dah lama cuti kan. So memang saya dengan anak memang buat SOP lah, ikut SOP semua sebab probably nak di sekolah. Kan sebab dia seorang kat rumah. So kalau sekolah tu harap jumpa kawan, tapi yang penting nak belajar lah. Sebab kat rumah pun nak belajar tu tak sama dengan kat sekolah.
So kita hanya beli ni je lah, baju 2 helai, seluar, selai tu je lah. Kasut pakai yang kasut tahun lepas lah. Itu pun tak ni lah, mana yang barang yang boleh pakai tahun lepas tu kita pakai lah. Takut tutup lagi kan rugi pula.
Malaysia has initiated legal action against the European Union or EU and its member states, France and Lithuania, following their anti-palm oil measures. Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Datuk Dr. Muhammad Khairuddin Aman Razali, with the cooperation of the Attorney General's Chambers and the International Trade and Industry Ministry, has filed a request for consultations under the World Trade Organization's WTO Dispute Settlement Mechanism or DSM. In a statement, the minister said this legal action demonstrates the government's seriousness in safeguarding the country's palm oil industry against the policy implemented by the EU. He said the legal action resulted from measures taken by the EU and its member states in relation to the implementation of the delegated regulation of the EU Renewable Energy Directive 2 or RED2, which was impacting the country's palm oil industry. The minister said Malaysia would give its full commitment and cooperation in the WTO process, especially the consultative sessions and ensuing discussions with the WTO panel to be established. According to him, Malaysia has undertaken various measures, including organising economic and technical missions to Europe and providing feedback on the EU's RED2's implementation. Nonetheless, the EU continued the implementation of EU RED2 without taking into consideration Malaysia's commitment and views. The number of flood evacuees in Johor and Sarawak now stands at 93 and 4,247 respectively. As at 8 a.m. today, a total of 53 flood relief centres or PPS remain operational in both states. According to Johor State Exco R. Vidyanathan, a total of 93 individuals from 23 families are still housed in 2 PPS in Batu Pahat and Segamat. He also said that the Jalan Kota Tinggi Kluang is still closed due to a landslide incident near Taman Sri Impian. Over in Sarawak, 4,247 from 173 families were evacuated to 51 PPS. Of that, Kuching was the worst hit district with 2,853 evacuees, followed by 1,068 in Serian, 319 in Samarahan and 7 in Miri. And that's it from us in our top story. COVID-19 patients can now report themselves via MySujatra app. Now tune in to news at 10, coming up at 10 p.m. on saluran Berita RTM on My Freeviews channel 123. You can also stream the news by surfing RTM's MyClick. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Jessica Lee.